Lord Frost, once again laying it out to the European Union that they need to drop their unrealistic demands if there is to be a UK-EU deal, with time running out as the end of the transition period comes to an end at the end of this year, of course. Lord Frost once again calling for the EU to be more realistic. I'm going to bring you all the very latest on this, but as ever, guys, if you could please remember to subscribe and click the bell so you don't miss future reports, I'd really appreciate it. Now, a Telegraph report highlighting how the Prime Minister's chief Brexit negotiator hinted at progress at the trade talks last night, but insisted the EU still needs to be more realistic about the rules the UK could accept. Now, of course, we've seen some forecasts and predictions of no deal being as high as 70, even 80%. From the sounds of things, it looks like the internal market bill has worked. The EU's backed down on the food blockade threat to the UK, and so the chances of a deal now said to be, from what I've seen, around 50-50. That certainly seems to be the talk. So the chances of a deal said to have increased in recent days. But Lord Frost once again making it absolutely clear, as the Telegraph report, that in the last fortnight of informal talks with Michel Barnier, his Brussels counterpart, had been relatively positive, as he suggested the EU had scaled back on some unrealistic ambitions. The two sides at loggerheads over fishing rights and the EU's demands for the UK to continue following EU's rules, this so-called level playing field, because those in Brussels are clearly terrified of the UK gaining Brexit competitive advantage, something the government must absolutely secure. Government sources have also claimed that the EU's method of conducting the negotiations, with Barnier seemingly insisting on slowing down talks on less contentious issues in order to focus on the most difficult ones. Now, Barnier is believed to have given ground on his previous insistence on parallelism in the talks. Now, this is what Lord Frost has said. This is his latest statement. As we enter the final stages of negotiation, we are all focusing on what it might take to get a trade agreement in place. An agreement, he says, is still very much possible, but equally very far from certain. The last 2 weeks, Lord Frost says, of informal talks have been relatively positive, but there remains much to be done and time is short. We've been saying from the beginning of this process that we simply want a free trade agreement like Canada's. Sadly, the EU's position has not been so straightforward, and we continue to be asked to accept provisions which do not reflect the reality of the change which our exit from the EU brings. If the gaps in these areas are to be bridged, the EU still needs to scale back more of its unrealistic ambitions and work on more realistic policy positions. Lord Frost says, I hope this will be possible this coming week, and I and my team are ready to work as hard as necessary to move things forward. So there you go. More positive than it has been in the past, but the EU clearly still seeking to make demands that are completely unrealistic, completely unacceptable. And of course, I hope on the British government side, they aren't simply going to cave in last minute just because they desperately want to be seen to be doing a deal with the European Union. That would have long-term consequences, would be devastating, would be a betrayal. To be fair, all the way through, Lord Frost, Frosty the No Man, of course, what we call him on this channel, has absolutely been steadfast in what he has said. But now, of course, we're coming to crunch time, we're coming to action, we're coming to the time where if there was to be a betrayal, it would be kicking in now. So I hope that we don't see that, and I hope that the government hold absolutely firm on this. Now, the Express reporting that Downing Street officials remain cautious over the steps that need to be taken to get a deal over the line, but it is understood that members of Lord Frost's team have privately said there will be a deal. So seemingly some of those around Lord Frost are confident of a deal being done. Now, the Express also report that the Centre for Brexit Policy argues that in order to safeguard national independence, the present withdrawal agreement must be scrapped and replaced with a new treaty. Now, we've heard the likes of Ben Habib and, of course, Nigel Farage calling for the government to ditch the withdrawal agreement completely. And the Centre for Brexit Policy saying we are now grappling with the dreadful consequences of acceding to a treaty that, if left unchanged, reduces the UK to the status of an EU colony. Former Brexit Minister David Jones saying the withdrawal agreement requires both sides to negotiate in good faith using best endeavours towards getting a free trade agreement. But they haven't done that. They have literally wasted months talking about their red lines. The Centre for Brexit Policy, he says, is correct in saying, and that if we arrive at a point where there is no deal, it will be in large measure due to the breach by the European Union of its obligations under the withdrawal agreement. If that's the case, then quite clearly, the United Kingdom should not be required to fulfil its obligations. And it seems that the UK will have to assess the situation when we arrive at that point. And if it thinks it's appropriate, it should say to the European Union, well, given your failure to observe the provisions of the withdrawal agreement, we will not regard ourselves as bound by it. Conservative MP Andrew Bridgen, another Brexiteer, has also pushed for the withdrawal agreement's termination, saying it's clear whether we leave the transition period on the 31st of December with or without a free trade deal with the EU, we need a clean break from their control. The withdrawal agreement has served its purpose in facilitating negotiations, and it should be repealed by our sovereign parliament prior to us leaving the transition period to prevent any further interference by the EU in sovereign UK matters in future. So there we are. Clear concern still about the rotten withdrawal agreement. The sounds coming out of the government are more positive than they have been about a deal being done with the European Union. But of course, it all comes down to what is in that deal. It is the mentality that we need to be wary of is the sort of Theresa May mentality creeping in of, oh, let's just get it over the line. Let's just get it done because we want to be seen to have got it done. Well, get what done? You know, we can't be in a position whereby we're outside of the EU and we've left the transition period and we ever have a position where a British government cannot enact a policy because it contravenes an agreement and a deal that we've signed with the European Union. That is absolutely not right. It's absolutely unacceptable. And we know that the EU is fixated on this area of state aid. They are terrified, as I've highlighted many times before, of the UK gaining Brexit competitive advantage and our government being able to do things that other European governments cannot do because they are constrained by European Union membership. We must break free. We must do right by our coastal communities, by the British fishing industry who were betrayed and devastated for so long. And let's hope that the words that Lord Frost is saying in terms of still calling for the EU to drop some of their ridiculous demands, let's hope the British government see that through. That's absolutely vital in terms of these negotiations. And as ever, no deal will always be better than a bad deal. It seems like the British government understand that. But look, this is the crunch time, guys. Let me know what you think. I know lots of you have already told me you want us to walk away now. But do you think there is an increasing chances of a deal now? Do you still have faith in Lord Frost, in Boris Johnson, who all the way through have said the right things at this critical moment? Do you think that they are going to deliver for Britain? Do you think they would walk away with no deal? Do you think we're going to see a sellout? Or do you think we'll see a sensible deal done? Really interested to know what you guys here on the Westminster channel think about this. But as I say, Lord Frost calling once again for the EU to drop their unrealistic demands. Do you think it's going to happen? And as ever, guys, if you've enjoyed this report, please click the thumbs up button, click subscribe and the bell so that you don't miss future reports. And of course, please consider supporting my work. Become a patron over at Patreon. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, guys.